Okay, so today we're going to start Chapter 3. And Chapter 3 deals entirely with linear functions. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is how can you tell that something is linear? Well, anything that has a degree of 1 is linear. So all of these problems are going to have the biggest exponent be 1. Okay, and today we're just going to be talking about things that you probably should already know, but things that we need to make sure we cover so we can move forward in this chapter. So first of all, most common form of something that's linear is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so m, let's just get rid of that. M stands for the slope, and b stands for the y-intercept. Okay, and now just to get a little bit more specific with the slope is the variable m, okay, and then we call slope rise over run. So the rise is the y, whether you go up or down, and the run are the x's, whether you go left or right. And then the formula for slope, if you're given 2 points, is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. In some books, you're going to see delta y over delta x, okay? That's the Greek letter delta, which means change in. So you're finding the change in y over the change in x, which pretty much just tells you to subtract them. Okay, so let's actually start by doing some of these basic graphs. Alright, so again, you don't have any axes down here, so for number 1 we have to draw our axes in. So there's my x-axis, there's my y-axis, there's my x-axis. And then if I'm looking at this equation that's already in y equals mx plus b form, the 3, negative 3 is my y-intercept, so that's the ordered pair is 0, negative 3. So we find that spot on the graph, put it down, and then the 2/3 is my slope. So the 2 is positive, that's rise over run, so that 2 means go up 2. And the 3 is positive, so that means go to the right 3. So from my y-intercept, I'm going to go up 2, right 3, put a point. Up 2, right 3, put a point. And I can also go down 2 and left 3 to keep that pattern going the same. Connect your dots, make sure you draw arrows, because that line will keep on going forever and ever. And there you go. Okay, just to cover a couple, well, maybe at least one more of these problems. Let's slide over to number 3. Okay, so if I want to graph something in y equals mx plus b form, if you notice, the only thing I have here in this equation is an x. So how I interpret this is y equals, the coefficient next to the x is a 1, so that's 1x. And there's no b value. So if there's no b value, it's going to be plus 0. So I'll draw my axes in. Okay, my b value is 0, so that's the ordered pair 0, 0. So this graph is going to go through the origin. And my slope is 1, or as a fraction, that's 1 over 1. So that means I'm just going up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, or down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1. And there's your graph. Okay. Now, as we scroll down, you'll notice that some of these graphs, some of these equations, the way that they're written, you can't graph them. So remember, anytime you want to graph using slope-intercept form, we want to make sure that we solve for y first. Okay, once you solve for y, you can get it in the right form. So, let me show you, let's do number 6. I've got to give you a hint with number 6, okay? I don't like fractions. So there's this nice, easy trick to get rid of fractions as long as there's an equal sign. So for number 6, because I have an equal sign, what I can do is I can say, well, I have only one fraction. I have this 3 in the denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything by 3. And when you do that, the fractions actually go away. So 3 times 4x will give you 12x. Now here, when you multiply, this 3 is in the numerator, this 3 is in the denominator, they end up canceling. So you just get plus 2y equals, and then here 3 times 2 gives you 6. So what you've done now is you've gotten rid of the fractions, so now it's much easier to work with. So still have to solve for y, so I'm going to subtract 12x to both sides, so that'll give me 2y equals negative 12x plus 6, and then to get y by itself I have to divide everything by 2, so y equals negative 6x plus 3. Now at this point, if I asked you to graph it, you could tell me that the slope m is negative 6, or you could say negative 6 over 1. And the 3 is the y-intercept, so it has the ordered pair 0, 3. Okay, so if it's not in y equals mx plus b, just try to get y by itself, and you put it into y equals mx plus b form. Okay, let's keep going down. Alright, we're going to identify 4 types of slope. Okay, now the first type of slope is now when you're reading graphs, just like a book, you're going to read it from left to right. So if I'm starting from the left and going to the right, and you see it's starting to move up, that means your slope is going to be positive. Now, if you're starting as you go right to left, if the line is going down, it's kind of like skiing downhill, and your slope is going to be negative. And then we have 2 other options that a line could be. Okay, we have a horizontal line, and we have a vertical line. Okay, now, I always think of it this way. If I look at the vertical line, it's straight up and down. First of all, it's not even a function. Okay, so because it's not even a function, we're going to call this undefined. Okay, so if it's straight up and down, not a function, undefined. However, if it's flat, well, think about it. If you're going uphill, it's a positive slope. If you're going downhill, it's a negative slope. What would be right in the middle? You got it. It would be 0. So anything that is a horizontal line is going to have a slope of 0. So those are your 4 types of slope. Okay, let's keep on moving. Okay, got 2 more topics. So, finding the x and y intercepts, next section. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna draw an axis on here, and I'm curious for x-intercepts. An x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis, and it's a point. It's the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. So if I had my graph going right through here, this would be my x-intercept. Okay? Or I could have my graph going through here. That could be my x-intercept. Or if the graph went through like this, that would be my x-intercept. Well, let me write down all these ordered pairs and you'll start to see a pattern. So my first point was at negative 1, 0. The second point was 2, 0. The third point was 4, 0. So you have to ask yourself, what do all of these x-intercepts have in common? And if you look, right on the right side, there's your hint. Anytime you have an x-intercept, your y value is 0. Okay, so there's this really easy way to find an x-intercept, and that is you are going to substitute 0 in for y. Okay, we keep it as simple as we can. Now just make sure that you're putting in 0 for y to find the x-intercept. I know people kind of get that confusing. It's kind of like the opposite rule. Okay? Alright. So that being said, y-intercepts are same concept. Just everything switched around. So the y-intercept is where the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. Okay, so I could have my graph going through like this. That would be my y-intercept. Or the graph could come through like that, and that would be my y-intercept. Or it could look like this, and that would be my y-intercept. Now if you write down all of these ordered pairs, so this would be the ordered pair 0, 4, 0, 1, and 0, negative 2. Now when we look at our intercepts, we'll notice they all have the fact that x is 0. All of those are in common. Okay, so the easiest way to find a y-intercept, you're going to substitute in 0 for x. Okay, so a y-intercept, you put in 0 for x. An x-intercept, you put in 0 for y. This is a concept that you're going to come back to over and over and over again in math, so make sure you guys understand these. Alright, so let me show you a number 2. Let's do that one. Okay, so if I'm finding an x-intercept, let me do that one first. An x-intercept, we are supposed to put in 0 for y. So this would be 4x plus 2/3 times 0 equals 2. So all I did, I took y and I put in 0. Now, 0 times anything is 0, so these are just gone. So you're left with 4x equals 2. And when you divide by 4 on both sides, you get x equals 1/2. Now the most important thing to remember is you guys are finding a point. Okay? So every time you write your answers, you have to write them as an ordered pair. So your x value is 1/2. But then what's your y value? Alright, well, you put in 0 for y. So it's the ordered pair 1/2 comma 0. Okay. Now let's slide over and do the y-intercept. If I have to do the y-intercept, I'm going to put in 0 for x. So 4 times x, or 4 times 0, plus 2/3 y equals 2. Okay, in this case, 4 times 0 is 0. So you have 2/3 y equals 2. Okay, to get rid of the fraction, I can multiply by the reciprocal, so multiply both sides by 3/2. Now, on the left side, the 3's cancel, the 2's cancel, you're left with y. And on the right side, the 2's cancel, but the 3's still there, so you get y equals 3. So again, make sure you write this as an ordered pair. This would be, you put in 0 for x, you get out 3 for y. And there's your y-intercept. Good. Okay. I have one more thing to cover that are horizontal and vertical lines. Okay. I'm going to draw you a horizontal line. Let me get my axes in there. And let me draw you a horizontal line. Oh, get that out of there. So right here. Okay? Now, let me put a bunch of points on this line. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Okay, let's write all 4 of these points down. It would be 0, 4, negative 1, 4, 1, 4, and 2, 4. Okay, what do you notice that all of these points have in common? In this case, all of your y values are 4. Okay, well that means that when you're drawing this specific horizontal line, it's actually crossing the y-axis at 4, right here. Okay, so we can actually write a horizontal line, or this horizontal line, as y equals 4. The y's will always be 4 on this line. Okay, so to write a horizontal line, it's just y equals what? Y equals a number. And whatever number that is, that's where it actually crosses the y-axis. And again, very similarly, vertical line, we're going to use the same approach. So let me draw a vertical line. Let's go right next to the axis. Okay, and let's highlight a couple points on this vertical line. We use that point, this point, and one underneath it. Okay, let's write all these points down. So that would be -1, 0. That would be -1, -1, -1, 1, -1, 2. Okay, if you look at all these points, you'll notice that your x value is always -1, which means to write the equation of a vertical line, well, this vertical line is going to be x equals -1. So any vertical line can be written as x equals a number. Whatever number it is, it's where the graph crosses the x-axis. So let's say the graph looked like this, right here. So this graph, 1, 2, 3, 4, crosses the x-axis at 4. This would be x equals 4. So you're literally just trying to find where the graph hits the axis and drawing that line right from there. Okay. All right. So I actually went through this lesson pretty quick. It's only about a 16-minute video. Okay. So what I want you guys to do for the rest of the day is finish this worksheet. Go through and make sure everything is done in this worksheet. Work as a group, and then make sure that you guys have the right answers. Or if you don't understand some of the answers, ask each other questions. The homework is at the bottom of this worksheet, so it's in the book. Make sure you take the book home and work on it, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, have a good day.